Hello everyone. Today I want to talk about a topic that is very important to me, and it's the topic of courage. What is courage? What does it mean to be courageous? What does it mean to be brave? And the reason why it is important to me is because it's something that I've been struggling a lot in my personal life, in my story, in my journey up to now, and that I am convinced a lot of other people are struggling with as well. And I think this is one of the topics that is most relevant for men who suffer from trauma, because our society puts enormous amount and clearly links the self-worth feeling, the worth of men with courage, also strength, but also courage, for example. So today I want to clarify something about this subject. Just because your inner critic is saying that you are a coward, and just because you actually do feel a lot of fear in situations where other people do not feel fear, that doesn't make you a coward. Let's be very clear about this. That means one thing, and that thing is that you have suffered trauma at some point in your life, and that is basically it. That's it. All right? That you suffered trauma. And the key thing here is that there is another step to that. If you choose to face that trauma, if you choose to face that thing that makes you feel fear in situations where other people do not feel that fear, that is being courageous. That is exactly what being courageous is. My favorite quote from a TV series, it's an amazing TV series, so if you guys haven't watched it, well, if you like my channel and you haven't watched it, watch it, because it's an amazing TV series, which is Black Sails. There is a quote from Calico Jack about Charles Vane after his death. I love Charles Vane. At the beginning I hated his guts, I hated his fucking guts, I hated the guy because he represented my power. And I was in a phase where I was learning how to love and stop hating myself for my own power and my courage. So at the beginning I instinctively hated the fuck out of this guy, and then I came to love, and I cried because he was one of the most, because of the enormous love I felt for him. And Calico Jack, his best friend, said, obviously, you know, and Charles Vane went against the British Crown, blah blah. So you know there was like campaign to destroy his reputation and to make it look like a villain rather than, you know, a hero. And someone, basically a lady in Charlottetown, I think, that was like the seat of the British governor in the United States, meets Calico Jack and asks him, so you knew, you have been in the Bahamas, so you may have seen or met Charles Vane. They say he was a barbarian, they say he was a monster, they say he was like a killer, they say he was a disgusting man, they say he was like ugly, they say he killed children. How was he? How horrifying, terrible was that monster? And Calico Jack takes his time to feel, and then he tells her he was a man no different than anybody else. He would feel fear just like me and you and any other man, but he would not let it diminish him. And this is not just a quote, because that's exactly what any one of you have just experienced and watched in the previous episodes, in the previous seasons of the entire series. That's exactly what courage is. Courage is not feeling fear. Not feeling fear means two things. You're an idiot, or, and by an idiot I mean someone who's totally disconnected from himself, so doesn't feel nothing because it's not allowing himself to feel nothing, or maybe his perception is like super dull, super low, so he doesn't feel stuff. or you should like be grateful, extremely grateful to the gods and to life because you had an amazing protected and sheltered life and never put you in front of situations that would scare you. Otherwise, fear is one of the most basic feelings that people feel. And it's not because you're scared of something someone else isn't, that you're a coward. It's if you're unwilling to face it, if you're willing to stop, if you're not willing to engage with it, to understand it, to assess it, that's when lack of courage comes in. And I think that's super important, because if you are someone that has suffered tremendous trauma in his life, someone who was born in a family that didn't reflect back to him his worth, his value, that didn't provide him the emotional, on top of physical safety that he needed as a baby and as a small child, then the level of fear you'd feel around for like basic stuff will be so much higher than those of people who are born in a healthy, functional family. And if you, on top of that, you choose to face that, well, that makes you brave. Full stop. And unfortunately, I've met a lot of people who could could speak in front of an audience, or they could jump from a very high cliff. They could, confront, they would not be scared if they were threatened by thugs in the street. And yet, they would create the most preposterous lies to themselves in order to avoid facing their own shit. So before you go on and call yourself a coward because you have social anxiety, because you feel stressed and anxious before a date, before a job interview, or in whatever other situation, please do consider, have you done your homework? Are you aware of your history? And if you are, and if you know your trauma, if you're doing therapy, if you're on a healing journey, then remember this. Consider this. So long. Ciao.